installment of this program where we talk about critical issues of public importance. And of course, if it's worth talking about, this is where you get to hear it from, analyzing, critiquing issues, identifying what the challenges are, preferring solutions, speaking to critical stakeholders on this matter. And of course, it's about the well-being and the prosperity of the people of this nation, and of course, the nation itself. Femi Ojo is my name, and it gives me great pleasure to be back here on this rainy morning. Quite a heavy rain is pouring right now. You know what they say about showers of blessing. That is what it is, isn't it, Daniel?
Absolutely. Good morning, Femi.
Good morning.
Good morning to our beautiful listeners, beautiful viewers. I said listener, I thought I was on radio.
Yeah.
Good morning to our distinguished viewers from all over the world. Thank you for joining us once again on this midweek edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Emeka Daniel is my name. And like Femi said, it's a cool Wednesday morning. Rain. Well, I didn't know it had started raining.
Yes, it does.
And I guess it's quite heavy. Showers of blessings, like they say.
Yeah.
And whatever the weather is, we always have to be here just to serve you the best as usual. So you do not want to miss any part of the show. Thank you once again for joining us this morning. Emeka Daniel is my name.
Yeah. And of course, we are good to go. But then, talking about what happened yesterday, it was a busy day in Abuja as the president returned to Abuja after the summer break, and immediately got into the groove by commissioning the rehabilitated ICC, International Conference Center, right here in Abuja, a public facility built in, I guess, in 1999 thereabout. And when Minister Wike came, he put it out for renovation and all of those things, with money being spent. And yesterday it was commissioned by Mr. President and renamed after him as well. That's Bola Tinubu National Conference Center.
Absolutely.
And tongues will wag as well to say, if you really want to, I don't know if there's a rule about it, it's just a convention. If you want to really immortalize people and all of those things, they are still serving. Why not wait for them to be through
for those who have passed
with that public service, and then you reward excellence? But now some will tell me to be psychophancy, taking too far. Some will see it as someone playing to the gallery to suit, the person that is working for. It's facility owned by the government. And the government sponsored it. So the person at the end of affairs is still in service. Why naming something after him? But that would be the first. We've seen state governors who go on infrastructural projects and name it after themselves well. But if it matters, I don't know.
Well, Femi, people are trying to immortalize themselves.
Why they are still in service? But in this case, one would say it's not Bola Tinubu that did that. It was Minister Wike that did that. And not just about immortalizing. The president praised Minister Wike to the high heavens yesterday. And he told
him to, just ignore critics.
Ignore the naysayers and bystanders and go ahead and do your work. What more encouragement can anybody need for the president to have your back, especially somebody from the opposing camp of the party? And that is not the first time the president will give kudos to Minister Wike and say, you are doing the work. Maybe he's doing the work after all.
Well, like you said, they've chosen to name the facility after him, the edifice after him, just in a bit to immortalize himself.
Whatever
in office.
The reason for that we're not giving.
Yeah, and again, talking about his Salah holiday, it wasn't really much of a holiday. He was in Lagos. He was receiving so many people,
guests,
so many visitors, so many guests. Fubara was there. Even Ibori. I was surprised when I saw the former Delta State Governor Ibori.
Why would you be?
I mean, everyone was just, taking advantage of it. It was supposed to be a holiday. Our delegates were there and all that. So a lot of people. So it was more like a working holiday for him because he was receiving guests all over. And again, talking about the FCT minister who has been commended over and over again by the president. There was a time at the press a briefing, at an interview, a journalist was actually trying to, attack FCT minister. He was questioning Mr. President. I'm talking about Ruben Abati now. Yeah. And the president just told him,
more like calling him out.
Yeah. And the president was like, Wike is working, leave him alone. So no matter what you say about the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, he has the president's backing in whatever he does. It's 100%. Clear that the president supports him, and there is nothing.
Even the entire National Assembly. Yeah, so when he brings his budget, he gets it done quickly. And Akpabio, that's the chairman of the Senate, was there yesterday. The Senate president, and he spoke about these uncommon, the way he says his things as Akpabio, the uncommon work and all of those things going on in that place. And the rank, everybody was there yesterday, to commission Bola Tinubu, or recommission Bola Tinubu International Conference Center. That's just it. But one will say, there are many persons that will say, hey, doesn't matter. It's an edifice that is working. So whatever name is put there might not really matter.
But again, like you said, I think we need to really be patient, wait till people finish serving their term, let people critique their administration. What have they done well? What have they not done well before you start commending them? I think that's the logical
naming things after them.
To do,
while in the middle of the work, they have been, immortalized already, having public buildings named after them.
So what if
while they are still in service?
So the question is, what if after serving, you said maybe he gets re-elected, and after serving, he's found guilty of some, crime, so to speak. So what would you do? You have to rename the edifice again?
Well, it will just be like that. There are many. Sometimes some of these things depend on who you are asking.
Absolutely.
So one will say, it doesn't matter. You people are armchair critics. You should just mind your business. The place has been done.
No,
in fact,
they speak up. No,
they won't tell you to focus on what truly matters. Is the fact that the ICC or the is it BTCC now? What Bola Tinubu International BTICC is now wearing a new look and is ready for public works. But then one thing that we can take away from the man, you might not like his politics, is the fact that he has, done some things in the Abuja, talking about the FCT, especially when it comes to infrastructure and all of those things, roads. And I think they are currently in the 17 days of commissioning. He's used to that when he was in Rivers. It used to be weeks when he wants to commission, whatever it is that is commissioning. And he invites people across the board, position, governance, and all of those things to just show that we are working here. And so they call this one 17 days consecutive days of commissioning. 17 consecutive days of commissioning of project. The man is always in the media, publicizes it, grand press interview himself, and all of those things. While it is what it is.
Yeah, while our president in Nigeria is busy commissioning, a facility named after him, let's look at some of the leadership initiatives some people are pushing in other parts of the world. In the United States, for instance, President Donald Trump is pushing an initiative now, a bill that will ensure a $1,000 investment for every American, for every newborn American. So every American born after December 31st, 2024 to 2029, January 1st, will get an investment of $1,000. That's what it's pushing. That's the bill is pushing now, just to help Americans, get a head start on life. When they grow up, when they are 18, they'll get, they'll have access to some parts of the funds. Then when they are 30, they'll get full access to the funds. It's an investment plan of $1,000.
Who does the investment?
American.
The government.
Yes, the government and some bodies. Dell, for instance, the Dell is there. Some organizations are there to support. So they are backing it. That they are saying, yes, this is a good initiative. It's a good idea.
At least you have something for yourself.
Exactly. So as soon as you're born as American, you have $1,000 investment waiting for you. That's the kind of initiative some people are having. Now let's compare with the kind of initiatives our leaders are pushing here.
Well, as I will say, it is what it is. And different story for different folks. For whatever shenanigans Trump has been involved with since he came on, some will see this as a bright ray of hope, especially at the heels of what has happened between him and his twinnie. and he's a jolly good fellow.
Oh, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, and all of those things, that it seems a very big gully has been dug between the two of them, and each person is finding their way towards the opposite sides. But then there is a lot to still talk about. The president's wife, that's the first lady, was in one of these eastern states, in Ugo thereabout, I'm not sure, to distribute, some kits for midwives, kits and then scrubs, the footwear by midwives and the scrub that they wear, I think 10,000 or thereabout. And she has been going on and on with that initiative. That was the same thing she went to do in Delta.
Okay, I think I saw a picture of her with Governor Peter and so that should be
the same thing that she has been trying to do when the Nayo Mama Bidiso issue happened in Delta State, and nothing to that, a lot of those guys were there. But then we have a lot to talk about today, and it will be worth it after all. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. By the way, let's use this opportunity to inform you that everybody knows that tomorrow is June 12th, 2025 is an iconic day. In fact, it is known for the annulled 1993 presidential election, popularly believed to have been won. In fact, at the end of the day, that has been recently confirmed that the man in charge of the IBB, that the winner was Kashimawo, Moshood Kashimawo Lawali Abiola, popularly known as MKO, a billionaire, business mogul at that time. In fact, he has been dubbed to be the president that Nigeria never had. And so tomorrow marks the commemoration of that day, and it has been retagged and named the real Democracy Day in Nigeria. So trust us on this program. We have a special edition of June 12, Morning Spring June 12 special edition tomorrow, and with critical and eminent men gracing the show to talk about things that truly matter: governance, citizens' participation, where we are. And it starts at the same time, 7 a.m. So be rest assured, it's not just going to be a usual Morning Spring program. So that being said, let's talk about what the dailies are for us for today, starting with The Guardian newspaper. 2027 computer-based test target. Less than 30% public schools have computer labs, ICT savvy pupils. Less than 30% public schools have computer labs, ICT savvy pupils. When the public schools are not, technically built or inclined, so how can the pupils there learn? Do they even have the teachers?
That's the point. That's what I was going to say. Because even the teachers,
we still this knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of them are still. If we look at the breakdown of the statistics, there, a lot of them are not still, IT savvy. Not just the pupils, even the teachers.
The pupils will only be ICT savvy when the knowledge has been instilled in them,
and when they have the facilities.
Yeah. So where's the facility? Where are the teachers? So let's look at some of the statistics on these story. 65% of secondary schools in the country lack functional libraries. 65% of secondary schools in the country. That means 65 out of every 100, schools in Nigeria, they lack.
That's why worrisome.
Yeah. And now, 65% of secondary schools in the country lack functional libraries, and 90% do not have computer laboratories. 90%, they do not have that. Now, 7% of Nigerians between 15 and 24 have IT skills. 7%. 7 out of 100. Of Nigerians are the only ones who have IT skills. Many 93% of Nigerians between the ages of 15 and 24 do not have IT skills. That's quite disturbing, and that's the future. In fact, that's the present, not just the future. That's the present.
That's the reality
of what we have now. Now, 2027 CBT deadline is overly ambitious, say stakeholders. CBT deadline, in 2027, and this is 2025, and we are still grappling with libraries, and 90% of schools not having computer laboratories. So how can we now
be talking about
go CBT?
I think we should be more realistic.
2027.
Let us be realistic.
Yeah.
We don't have the facilities have not been put in place. Why are you talking about going digital? When the pupils don't have the digital skills.
I'm sure there are some pupils that have never touched a computer in their life.
Absolutely.
They have never touched. So,
and you want to mandate them to start taking computer-based tests, examinations.
In less than 2 years.
It's not fair on them. You're just trying to shortchange.
That's not even real. Because I wonder what policy will drive such a change in less than 2 years across the length and breadth, not just the state capitals. Now, last UBEC census showed that 89% of private urban schools teach computer studies, compared to just 12% of public rural schools. Now, private urban schools teach computer studies 89%. That's compared to 12% in public rural schools. All right, so many homes spend more on food and necessities than on gadgets. Exactly. It's about survival right now.
Absolutely.
You got to eat.
It's when you've eaten, that's when you think of technology.
Yeah, that's when you can think straight on anything. Survival first, then, when you... All right, now when you have devices bought for you, possibly a phone or an iPad, and you have not eaten, I'm afraid that the same device might be sold later to buy food.
Absolutely.
Now, where is even the power to power those, devices, and the internet is another thing.
That's another angle,
Yeah. All right. And 28.75% of senior secondary students have basic computer proficiency. 28.75% of senior secondary schools students have basic computer proficiency. So it means we are so backward when it comes to this particular drive of ICT, especially among the young ones. That's just the thing. You even see the older ones, when it's time for CBT exams or promotional exams and all of those things, many of them have issues because some of them can't even switch on. Some of them don't even know how to operate a system. And here we are. But then it is doable if only we are willing to do all of those. Now, beside that, ignore busybodies, bystanders, Tinubu tells Wike at reopening of center. This reminds me of a meeting that was held, was it 2 days ago or the same yesterday? It's stakeholders meeting of the PDP that was held, and they were talking about their party. Autumn was there. Some of those G5 guys were there. Ugwanya, the rest of them, or Ipazo, right? One of those two. And other people, the Martin Amaole, all those Rivers, supporters of Mr. Yes on Wike, and all of those things. They were talking about their party. The party should not die. They should have a focus, especially for 2027. And who chaired the meeting? Yes on Wike, who was talking about presidential candidates for 2027 for PDP. Meanwhile, he's working with the president of the APC.
No, and in a previous program,
he said he will lead the campaign. And here he is talking about the presidential candidate of his own party, the PDP. So sometimes you just see these things from a place of humor and maybe dark comedy.
Honestly,
I'm telling you.
Because again, I think it all boils down to the fact that Nigerians are being taken for granted. That's just it. They just believe, the politicians just believe they can do whatever they like. Exactly.
Now, ignore busybodies and bystanders. Tinubu tells Wike at reopening of center. That's more like, you see, people will talk. Continue your work. And it has shown, and everybody has seen it, that the man has the backing of everybody that matter in this country as far as the cabinet is concerned, including the National Assembly, right? And NOC trails Wike stakeholders meeting as PDP crisis deepens. Exactly what I didn't even see this before. NOC's trail Wike stakeholders meeting as PDP crisis deepens. These are the issues, and some will say, in what capacity did Wike call that meeting? And they are releasing communique. as what? Actually,
as a strong man of PDP.
All right. And June 12, Lamido urges Tinubu to immortalize Humphrey Nwosu. The conversation has been raised again about the man that superintended the 1993 botched election or annulled election, Humphrey Nwosu. It was raised a few months ago at the National Assembly, but that bill was killed because many persons believe that's a no now. Former Jigawa State Governor Lamido is raising that particular line of thought again. And World Bank bullish on Nigerian economy, marks up growth forecast to 3.6%. And power outage plunges Adamawa, Borno, Taraba, Yobe in darkness. Same Borno that is having security issues now out of power. These are the issues on Plateau. 58 killed, 31 injured, 15,000 displaced just in 6 weeks. Plateau, 58 souls killed. 31 injured, 15,000 displaced in 6 weeks. And that's the picture of the man in charge there. That's Caleb Muftuang. But this picture being used doesn't really, it doesn't tally with the story. That's a smiling man there, in the middle of that. And top strip, days of electoral impunity over, will be declared. And Senate to change presidential inauguration venue and mandate June 12 address. You know where the venue will be? The National Assembly complex. And I wonder how that will be. They have enough space to do all of that. June 12, that they will compel every president to make a speech at the National Assembly, possibly a State of the Nation address on every June 12, And 150,000 cases of babies born with sickle cell disease yearly in Nigeria. 150,000 cases of babies born with sickle cell disease yearly in Nigeria. It shows something. Ignorant.
Absolutely.
Ignorant.
Completely avoidable. And talking about Obi's statement that days of electoral impunity are over in Nigeria. The question is, how exactly does he intend to tackle that? Because he is just a Nigerian citizen. He's not in power. So
exactly a leader of thought who has influence, possibly things, whatever. The detail will be in the Guardian newspaper. But then that will be all from the Guardian for today.
And from the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we move straight to the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Protests against hardship, insecurity to hold in 20 states. Protests against hardship, insecurity to hold in 20 states. And that's according to organizers. Talking about protests in Nigeria against hardship, insecurity, across about 20 states. You might want to read up the rest of that story on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. And talking about June 12, just to commemorate Democracy Day in Nigeria. But people, apparently, a lot of Nigerians are dissatisfied as a result of hardship, economic hardship and insecurity in the nation. Later on in the program this morning, we'll be talking about insecurity. So some Nigerians believe there is nothing to celebrate, and they are planning protests in about 20 states. You can read that up in the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Away from that, moving to the top strip of the Daily Trust newspaper. Why INEC is yet to conduct by-elections into 7 seats at National Assembly. Why INEC is yet to conduct by-elections into 7 seats at National Assembly. So if you're wondering why it is taking them so long, you might want to read up that story on page 12 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Northeast to experience 4-day blackout. Northeast to experience 4-day blackout. You find that story on page 25. Now that it's on the pages of the newspaper warning them of a blackout, I mean, we've been having blackouts before without no warning. So now that they've warned that there'll be a 4-day blackout, I think they should brace themselves for more. And that's what an average Nigerian would say. For you to have this official warning that there's going to be a 4-day blackout, it might just be a little worse than that. So please brace yourselves. But whatever the cause might be, you might want to read up that story on page 25.
The only challenge I might have that is, okay, maybe there's a reason why that will happen, is in security threatened state like Borno. Now, when these criminals know there will be a blackout for 4 days, are we prepared for the security dimension of this challenge? It's not only that you won't have power. Many things can be done in darkness. You know, so many things won't work. Some facilities won't work. And some, you know, operations might be affected due to the blackout. There will always be a security challenge. Is that state? Is the security agencies ready? Are the security agencies ready for the implication of what can happen in 4 days of total blackout? If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's very important.
But again, it shouldn't be a new thing because the governor has been crying out, I mean, for a long time that his state is gradually being taken over by terrorists. Exactly
my point. Now, when those criminals know that, in fact, there will not be power anywhere, shut down for 4 days, we should be wary. And we should take preventive action so that they won't use the total darkness, you know, to perpetrate further evil more than they are currently doing.
Absolutely. I'm talking about...
That's a worry. I worry for them.
Yeah, so unfortunately. I'm talking about insecurity. You know, was it not last week we talked about insecurity in Benue State when it was reported? You know, I said that headline was mischievous when newspaper headlines reported that the chief of army staff was relocating to Benue State. It was actually an official
temporary
visit. Exactly. It was an official visit.
It ended up as a visit.
But unfortunately, just was it not Monday or Tuesday, there were still some cases of killings in Benue State. I mean, some people were killed, and you know,
same state that you know all flashlights are being on.
Absolutely.
Meaning those people are daredevil. They know what they are doing, and the message they are showing is we don't care. We can always run riot, and they have been running riot, and we have not seen 10 of those criminals paraded. As this is the people we have apprehended for doing these things. So, who are they?
Well, perhaps they are ghosts. Quite unfortunate. So, it's left for the security agencies to unravel the mystery behind this incessant
until we go ruthless on them and their sponsors. But if what we will continue to do as a nation is to make speeches upon speeches, visitations upon visitations, photo ops, and all of those things, and immediately you are going or you are gone, another thing happens, well, one thing is if we are ready, that's my own opinion on this matter, if I actually have any on this matter. If the people are ready, we will know what to do.
The people are ready, because if you talk about people of Benue State, they are suffering. You can't tell me people who are bereaved that they are happy about it. No,
I'm not saying they are not. That obviously everybody is sad. I'm not from Benue. I don't have anything in Benue, at least as of now, but I'm not a happy man. Seeing that a soul like myself, like a human being like myself, can go to bed, and before you wake up, your throat might have been slashed just for nothing, just because of people feel they can, and they have been doing that. Not because they are happy. I'm only saying when the people, not just Benue people, when the people are tired of suffering, you know, when a tank is full, sometimes, you know, water will find its level.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean.
We just hope it doesn't degenerate into anarchy. Because again, when people get to that point where they have nothing else to lose and they just go for broke, we just pray it doesn't come to that. The government should step up. It is the sole responsibility of the government to protect the lives and the territorial integrity of their geographical locations, and they should do exactly that. Not just about the paparazzi, like you said, not just about, you know, talking, giving speeches, you know, calling journalists,
visitations and all of those things,
I mean,
and then
without anything.
Yeah, Benue, Plateau, and all of those places, and then you have figures being said. The governor is saying, "Oh, is this?" The commissioner of police is saying, "No, is that?" And all of those things, and people keep dying. People are not dying at the state houses. It means those people are protected. It's people at the fringes, at the hinterlands that are being killed. And the souls or the lives of people living in the fenced, heavily protected state houses is not superior to that of anybody in any of these villages that kept the... Man, it's a lot.
Quite unfortunate. Away from that, moving on to other stories, still on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Gunmen kill 4 in fresh attack in Benue. Oh, we were just talking about Benue. Gunmen kill 4 in fresh attack in Benue. Still talking about insecurity, you find that story on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. 98 houses burnt down in Plateau community. 98 houses burnt down in Plateau community. You find that story on page 17, still talking about insecurity in Plateau State. And just below that, ICC commissioned, renamed after Tinubu. ICC commissioned, renamed after Tinubu. You find details on page 8. And moving away from that to the bottom strip now. Again, truck drivers killed in Imo. Again, truck drivers killed in Imo. You find a story on pages 5 and 6. Pages 5 and 6 of the Daily Trust. Still talking about insecurity everywhere. Just look at the front page of the newspaper. We have Benue State, you have Plateau State, you have Imo State, you have Borno State. All about insecurity. And again, you know, sycophants surrounding the president, like Aline Duma said, that unfortunately the president is surrounded by sycophants, people who are just telling him what he wants to hear.
That's the way it has always been.
Nigerians are crying out.
Everybody at the end of affairs will always have sycophants.
Nigerians are suffering. Economic hardship, insecurity everywhere, but you still see people or ministers and those close to the president telling him that, no, go ahead, we are doing fine. Why the hypocrisy?
Things have improved.
Why the hypocrisy?
Even the president said it himself, that things have improved. The sun is shining again in the north. And all
things have improved for him and the political class. That's the truth. Yes, sincerely, as far as Nigeria is concerned, you know, so much money has been saved. The other day we saw over 7 trillion naira saved in 2 years as a result of removal of fuel subsidy. So much money has been made. So things are really good for the political class. Things are good for the president. Things are good for the governors, for the House of Reps members, for the senators. They are not complaining. They are smiling to the bank. How about the people of Nigeria? The people of Nigeria suffer, and Senator Aline Duma said it over and over again, that the president is just listening to those who are telling him what he wants to hear, and it's not looking good for Nigeria. Quite unfortunate. Anyways, that'll be all from the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
All right, from the Daily Trust newspaper, let's have a look at what the Tribune has for us. The Tribune for today is an abridged, version. Nigerian Tribune, SAG others public companies to release old dividends. Tribune has that. SAG others public companies to release old dividends. And ASU declares no pay, no work. Any month salary is delayed.
Quite interesting. No pay, no work.
Declares no pay, no work. Any month salary is delayed.
Quite interesting. So the students get to suffer for
Aura
it.
for aura.
Because ultimately, salaries will still be paid. But no work means they won't go to classes.
That's it. So by the time the salary is paid, so where will this student fit in? How do they catch up?
They've paid the ultimate price, suffering for it.
It's a lot, I think it's an aura for aura thing that they too are trying to do, because there have been instances where the federal government have said no work, no pay as well. So those two will feel no pay, no work. So who suffers in the two instances? The student. Your time is wasted, the knowledge is disrupted, and then the rest of the world is moving on. In fact, the rest of Nigeria, possibly those in private institutions, are moving on. Yeah. You are the only one stuck with your ASU, government, ASU, NASU, all of those soup and SUs.
It's only in Nigeria you're going for a 4-year course, and you just brace yourself. You might just spend 5 or 6 years.
Well, without having carryover, actually, just because Nigeria happens.
The system just restricts you.
ASU declares no pay, no work. Any month salary is delayed. And Wike renames ICC after Tinubu. Wike renames ICC after Tinubu. Don't pay attention to busybodies. The president tells FCT minister, says usage of facility not free. Don't pay attention to busybodies. President tells FCT minister, says usage of facility Not free. I'm not sure anybody, whatever has been put up by the government, maintained, refurbished, renovated, commissioned, and heavily, funded from the government coffers. I'm not sure it should be free in the first place. And maybe, yes, for anybody that wants to, or corporate organizations, but should it be free for government-owned
Government
events,
functions.
government
Yeah.
functions? That's the issue.
Oh.
Because that means if Federal Ministry of Health is coming to use the place, they have to pay to the FCT. Actually, I don't know how that would work.
It's still public funds, so they are just recycling the funds. So whether or not they pay, then they're not paying from their pockets. That's the truth. It is still public funds.
But then there should be accountability, from the FCT end that you are making money, you are renovating. I'm not sure the renovation, what's it called? The maintenance now should be done by a budget from the government again. Such a huge facility
once they start
should be able to maintain itself through generation of funds and all of those things. Don't pay attention to busybodies, President tells FCT minister. So I think that sounds right. Many persons who are possibly don't see the work that Minister Wike is doing, they're bashing for his politics, his style, and all of those things. The president has said, keep working. Don't pay attention to the bystanders and naysayers. That's all from the Nigerian Tribune for this morning.
And from the Nigerian page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And moving to the top street, Saudi's Aramco delays Nigeria's crude-backed $5 billion loan. Saudi Aramco delays Nigeria's crude-backed $5 billion loan. You can read up that story on page 40. And finally, from the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, FG budget cuts leaves 1,500 health workers without pay. Federal government budget cost leaves 1,500 health workers without pay. You might want to read up the details of that story on page 46 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And that'll be all from the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. And I guess that also brings us to the conclusion of the newspaper review segment of the show this morning. We'll take a short break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.